Spider-Man Homecoming now has its first official trailer, or trailers, one's international. You've probably seen them, and if you've accidentally clicked on this thinking it was the trailer, well, I can imagine that would be quite irritating and annoying. But wait! What happens here is a breakdown of all the Easter eggs and references and things potentially missed. This time focusing on Spider-Man Homecoming, including when the film's set in relation to Civil War, what Avengers other than Iron Man appear, some Star Wars Easter eggs, a whole lot of information on the new villains, why he looks to be back in the old suit, as well as looking at some of the best, worst, and weirdest Spider-Man tech from history, including the reintroduced web wings and what the hell those are about. Oh, and at the end I'll be giving away the lootiest of loot crates, but more on that later. Okay, first off, now I've said this before, but it's nice to get a Spider-Man who actually looks like he's in high school. And that's where a huge focus of this movie will be. Balancing his life where 1 minute he's whisked off to Europe to fight a giant man in an ant costume, and then next he's dealing with the regular issues that come with being a teenager. Girls, awkwardness, hiding your sweet abs, and all this, fits with the John Hughes vibe director Jon Watts is going for. But speaking of Civil War, the clip we saw before the trailer was released, which wasn't actually included in either version, I believe is set before the Civil War airport battle, seems as he's still wearing the old suit. Later in the trailer we see him back in it, and I have a bit of a theory as to why, which I'll get to shortly. I'd say that there's a fair chance the opening of this movie is a whole lot of action from Civil War, but from Spider-Man's perspective, like we get here. And then it smash cuts to him being bored back in class. Nice little nod here. Some bank robbers wearing Avengers masks. Hulk is mentioned specifically, and we even see Bruce Banner at one point in this scene as a notable scientist from history. I mean, I still feel like the things that he's known for are really terrible things that hindered more than they helped. But hey, he punched a lot of evil aliens and robots, so, good on him. Tony Stark features prominently in the trailer. I shudder to think at what cost to the studio, but there it is. And interestingly, he's seen sporting the same armor he wore in Civil War, the Mark 46. Probably a slightly different version, seeing as Captain America beat the shit out of it. But I guess they're probably saving any new Iron Man designs for the next Avengers film. Also, this is his father, Howard Stark, on a mural at Peter Parker's high school. A few Star Wars references, which makes sense, seeing as Disney owns both properties. In Peter Parker's room, at least I think it is, though it's different from the last one that we saw. Maybe he moved, I don't know. Anyway, it's packed with Star Wars paraphernalia. An AT-AT, you might call them AT-ATs, and that's fine, everybody's different, relax. An X-Wing, and what's dropped by his friend Ned is a Lego Death Star. Getting back to the AT-AT, something that you might not call it that could be a direct reference to the Star Wars reference he makes in Civil War in order to take down Ant-Man. Martin Starr appears briefly. He'll be playing a teacher in the film, and we also get Donald Glover. Now, it's not known whom he'll be playing, but seeing as he appears to be associated with criminals, I thought it would be a nice touch if he ended up being Aaron Davis, Master Thief, and uncle of Miles Morales, who for years, fans petitioned for him to take on that role. Now, I have no evidence to support that theory, but you know what? You have no evidence not to support it, so in your face. Unless you do have evidence, in which case, please tell me, what is it? This is Liz Allen, which is a bit of a throwback to the early days of Spider-Man. Now, in the original comics, despite Peter having a crush on her, and then her having a crush on him, things never really lined up, and she ends up going on to marry Harry Osborn, and becoming Liz Allen Osborn, and they have a son together. Liz Allen has actually appeared in a Spider-Man film before. According to the 2002 Spider-Man novelization, this is her.
Don't even think about it.
Come on, really? You're like the female version of Tobey Maguire who stumbled in from a parallel dimension. We get quite a bit of Michael Keaton's The Vulture. Jon Watts has stated that the character builds his own winged suit, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's assisted by the Tinkerer, who's also said to be in this film, but I don't think he's actually in these trailers. I'd say he's also the one building the tech the bank robbers are using, as well as this gun that has like a hand on the end, and this concussive, fist thing. I'm wondering if all this is built off the back of tech we've seen in previous movies. Maybe Chitauri, and this looks a hell of a lot like an Iron Man gauntlet. Could be that one he discarded in Iron Man, or from, all those suits that exploded in 3, or could be just a hand on the end of a gun. Now, minor villain The Shocker is also said to appear, but there's 2 characters here that could fit that role. One being Logan Marshall Green, or as he's more commonly known, is that Tom Hardy? Are these guys, are they the same actor? Was that him in the Batman movie? Or was this him in Prometheus? Are they the same person or are they brothers? What's going on here? But he's wearing an outfit similar to the leaked image of the Shocker. But Bokeem Woodbine looks like he has a Shocker glove. So I don't know. But getting back to the Vulture, Tom Holland has said that this villain is terrifying, like something out of a horror film. Jon Watts has added that all the villains in this movie are different from other Marvel villains, like Thanos or Ultron, because if Spider-Man, a regular kid, can become a superhero, then there's got to be a bunch of regular guys who become supervillains. And look, Look, I'll be honest, that all sounds great, but I'd be lying if I said I wish his costume was something more akin to Condor Man. Alright, Spider-Man himself. Now we see two costumes in these trailers. The Tony Stark built one from Civil War, and what presumably is his original costume, which we also saw briefly in Civil War. Now if he's wearing that costume, then it must mean that either some of this is set before Civil War, or he's forced to go back to it. Maybe it's because Tony Stark isn't happy with his actions, or he's trying to protect him, so he takes it away, or remotely shuts it down by disabling the web shooters and closing the eyes. I don't know. But it appears he's going to be fighting the Vulture without the help of his web wings, and all the other cool stuff that the suit does. And I think now's as good a time as any to talk about some of the stuff that a Spider-Man suit can do, or some of the other crap that he's got lying around. Okay, web shooters. Pretty self-explanatory, but there's a bunch of stuff the webs can do that we haven't really seen in the movies. Mostly, they've been used to hold on to something heavy while Spider-Man makes this face. But because a single strand is said to be stronger than piano wire, it's also capable of making little tornadoes, a shield, a parachute, a net, a finish line for a car, skis, a raft, a club for bludgeoning foes, a ball that would probably be, real weird to touch, and a sticky glue. He also has webbing with slightly different abilities for tackling specific threats, including an acidic version, a taser, and magnetized for interfering with radio signals and the like. Of course, after the first Spider-Man movie in 2002, Spider-Man moved to organic web shooters in the comics by turning into a giant spider and then giving birth to himself. If you want a logical explanation of that, just know that there isn't one, and don't bother looking, because it's a waste of time. The mechanical web shooters are loaded with cartridges that are packed with liquid webbing, a whole lot of which he keeps on his belt, which this version of Spider-Man has. Probably to keep up his, his spider pants. Something which I'd love to see in the movies is him running out of webbing. That hasn't really been touched upon in the films, but I think it adds like a different element to a fight if one of the key things that makes Spider-Man Spider-Man is removed. Also in his belt are little spider tracers for tracking enemies that emit a frequency that allows his spider sense to pick up on. He also uses cryo cubes for freezing his enemies without killing them, but having them frozen does make them real easy to kill, which is, handy. Also, traditionally, he has a spider signal, which is used to see in the dark, or as a UV light at a crime scene. And sometimes, it's just to spook criminals. But you know what's scarier than a light? Being punched by a man who can press 10 ton. This new version, though, it seems a little different, like it has some kind of graphical interface, so I'd imagine it does something more than just, be a light. The Spider-Mobile is a car that Spider-Man has for some reason, and by for some reason I mean because Stan Lee was told by a toy company that selling toy cars was a very lucrative business. Jerry Conway, who was writing Spider-Man at the time, thought it was dumb for all the reasons you're now thinking of off the top of your head, presumably revolving around why a guy would need a car when he can swing between buildings above traffic. The answer, of course, is he doesn't. But that being said, they kind of made it work eventually by having it being able to drive up walls. I think that the best use of it is in Old Man Logan, where Hawkeye and Wolverine take an across-the-country trip to do the thing that book is about, which is, mostly murder. Another form of transportation is the Spider Glider, which is pretty much the Goblin Glider, but, it's spider-shaped. And it was kind of one of those, one-and-done things that was abandoned pretty quickly. Spider-bots, though, they're interesting. When Dr. Octopus was in Peter Parker's body, he used them to surveil the entire city. That way he could prevent potential threats and could identify anybody villainous of note. They can also do a bunch of, neat little stuff, like form a protective barrier if need be. The thing is, though, like all tech, they can be hacked. And that's exactly what happened. Norman Osborn made it so that they wouldn't recognize anyone wearing a goblin costume, allowing him to run amok. So, obviously that means this kid would be safe. From the spider robots, that is, not his school bullies. Lastly, web wings. Now, traditionally they are purely cosmetic. They do nothing. It's just like a design choice to look cool. And boy, do they. Now, over the years, they went the way of a lot of traditional superhero costume ideas, like Superman's undies, Superman's t-shirt, Superman's electric costume on an electric man, Superman's mullet, and Batman's gun, and also Superman's gun. Spider-Woman, though, can use hers to glide, and Spider-Man 2099 has a version that means he can just flat out fly. This one here, though, it looks more in line with a traditional wingsuit. I'd imagine at most it would add a very limited flying capacity, but it probably does something more akin to gliding. Spider-Man, though, has had a number of costumes over the years that have imbued him with a variety of powers. There's the Stark Tech one called the Iron Spider that performs numerous tasks and includes a number of extra arms. In fact, he's had a few armored variations over the years. There's also the rubber insulated suit that's electricity proof, a stealth suit, and most famously, the bombastic Bagman version, which is just Peter Parker in a Fantastic Four outfit with a paper bag over his head. And just to be clear, it has no powers of note, or even not of note. I mean, it's a spandex and a paper bag. What do you expect? It will be interesting to see, however, what other abilities this new suit will have, because Kevin Feige has stated that it can do a lot more than Peter Parker realizes right now, and you begin to see how much Tony Stark loves adding bells and whistles to all the suits that he makes. If there's something that you'd like to see, maybe leave a comment below about it, because if you do leave a comment, any comment, maybe even just general thoughts on the trailer or something significant that I've missed, you'll go in the draw to win a loot crate that will be given away next week.
No.
Also, because YouTube is being weird apparently with its new algorithm, leaving a like on this video also helps. Now, I hate saying that, but also I hate not having money and dying hungry in a ditch. So, you gotta weigh up your options. I'm not above begging for likes. I'm not a proud man. Oh, and here's the winner of last week's crate. If you are that person, just private message me these details on my channel, and I'll sort it all out. Also, this Monday on my podcast, The Weekly Planet, which is linked below, we're talking this trailer in detail, as well as all the other big movie and comic and TV show news. And this Sunday is the final episode in our Star Wars Caravan of Garbage series, where without spoiling anything, we'll be playing a bunch of Star Wars video games with a very specific Rogue One related goal in mind. So bloody swing back around Spider-Man style if you want to get involved in that. Maybe you can turn on notifications. It's next to the subscribe button. It's a little thing. You'll find it. But thanks for watching this though. I appreciate it. Take care.